Hi, and welcome to a new episode of The Horror Within Me with your host, me, Foxy Batman. And this is my unique unpacking of my own personal experiences and traumas and how I relate that to my passion for all things horror. Full disclaimer, this is a show that uses strong language, dark humor, sarcasm, and uncomfortable topics while also picking a specific movie, TV show, book, or really anything that falls under the category of the horror genre and comparing my perceptions to that media. So, if this sounds like the type of show you're into, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. If not, no problem. Everyone has their own taste, and I'm sure you'll find a show that is right for you. Okay, with that being said, let's dive into my weird, wacky brain and see where we end up. Hi, and welcome to my very first episode ever of The Horror Within Me. My name is Foxy Batman, your host. A little bit about me. I am a 35-year-old full-time student, full-time employee in the healthcare field who has a unhealthy relationship with all things horror-related. So why not start a podcast and talk about all the things that I have been through in life? I have graciously asked a friend of ours, her name is Grace, to co-host the first episode with me and kind of give you guys an idea of what it is you're going to be listening to and what you're signing up for, because I am a lot to handle. Everyone say hi to Grace. Grace, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today, and I am ready to unpack some motherfucking trauma.
Yes. So, if you haven't realized already, this show is trauma and horror based. We are going to be talking about things that many people don't want to talk about. Things that have happened in our past, in our childhoods, and the unique world of horror and the genre of horror, and that ranges from many, many, many things. Me personally, I'm drawn to anything that's macabre or horror. That can be movies, books, games, objects, and I think it really has to do with stems from my childhood. Really, I remember just growing up. My mom would have me watch like Friday the 13th, and I would hide behind the couch anytime that it would come up. Do you have any horror movies that you remember as a child that really stuck out?
My first memorable horror movie and trauma experience was my dad is to this day hugely into anything Stephen King. So when I was 5 years old, he turned on the TV and said, "Oh look, it's on."
Ooh, that's a. I had trauma from it. Still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he comes out the shower drain.
Yep.
I washed no lie, for a month, I washed my hair staring down at the drain. Not even making this up. And my mom was a huge horror person as well. Mm-hmm. She would always put on horror movies, and she would also, I would come home from school. She was a stay-at-home mom, and sometimes I couldn't find her.
Yeah.
And she'd be hiding in the house and creepily call my name out, and I had to look for her. She would always be in the attic. I mean, things like that, traumatize children.
Yes.
And turn us into this today.
These whack-ass adults.
Yeah, that's not, that's all light and fun, but honestly, there's a lot of deep-rooted trauma that I've experienced, that I know that you've experienced. We've had conversations before that relate, and how I have that perception to horror as well. I think, growing up in a home where my parents stayed married when they shouldn't have, caused a very chaotic environment for me and my siblings.
Yeah.
it was very verbally and physically, emotionally abusive. And I think watching movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or Friday the 13th, watching those fictional boogeymen be, with a heroine, taking them out, it's kind of like an escapism.
Yes, it's absolutely escapism. It's like seeing this brutal violence and gore and horror makes your real life brutal violence, trauma situations feel like maybe they're not so bad,
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is how we all view it, though. I mean, I dive into the violence and the horror, and I always root for the good guys, though. I don't root for the bad guys. You watch, like, these icons like Ghostface and Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger, and these people are fans of the killers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, they're going to watch how they creatively kill these people, and I think I don't go to see how people are going to be murdered. I go to see
how they're going
who is going to survive.
Stop. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's my survival guide.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how do I survive life? How did Laurie Strode do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when they kill these people, it's traumatizing. In fiction, in life, I mean...
Yep.
It's just terrible. I remember, what movie? I think it was the first time, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, when Heather Langenkamp plays Nancy, and they bring her back from the original Freddy, and at the very end, he tricks her as her father, and then he kills her, and I'm, like, traumatized. I'm like, she was the heroine. She was the one that got away.
Live, yeah.
She was... Why did they bring her back just to kill her? Mm-hmm. Things like that just traumatized me.
Yeah.
Do you have... Like, you have a different relationship with the horror genre.
I certainly do. I feel like I'm not a huge stan of, like, the classic horror movies. Like, I've watched all the classics, and, like, I've seen them and everything, and it's... I certainly don't mind watching a horror movie. I do a lot more reading. I read a lot of Stephen King. I have all the classics. I stole them all from my dad. And, like, I read a lot of, like, Junji Ito, which is manga, Japanese horror.
Japanese horror is a completely different kind of playing field.
And I am so into it.
I need to get more into that. I mean, I know, like, The Ring and The Grudge, like, the Americanized versions.
God. The Grudge was, like...
Okay, the sound. I was just talking, my niece was terrified of The Grudge.
Hold on, you want me to try and do it?
Yeah, you do. It's like... Yes.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this the other day, and my niece was terrified of that movie growing up. See, we passed the trauma on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was...
Oh, absolutely.
Now I have these younger generations that I passed it on to in different ways, but The Grudge was one of them, because Sarah Michelle Gellar was in it. And
I love her.
I'm
Buffy.
Buffy. I mean, that I can spend an entire episode on just Buffy, which I probably will later down the line.
I'll come back to that one.
But, she was terrified of when the little boy opened his mouth and it was the cat. Mm-hmm. Like, things like, just weird things. Like, these are types of... These people have to have trauma that they are creatively coming up with these things as well.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't doubt it for a second. Like, whoever wrote any horror movie, like, I want to talk to you. I want to know what happened. Like, are you okay?
Yeah. But, like, I think it was Wes Craven. I read an article that said, like, the Nightmare on Elm Street, he came up with that with something personal in his life where he saw a man. I don't remember the whole story, but I do a lot of Googling on different things. I fall in the rabbit hole all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is definitely a genre that has different subgenres, like slasher, thrillers, or psychological horrors. Mm-hmm. And they each talk to me differently.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Like, I love the slashers because of the good guy, bad guy, heroine, hero kind of complex, but the demon stuff, that's a little... that one gets under my skin.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it is more, in my opinion, there's more of a chance for that to be a reality. I mean, there are reality serial killers, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
But, I mean, like, look at John Wayne Gacy. He was a clown and, like, killing people and putting them into, like, crawl holes or something, right?
Yeah, that's not this podcast, but...
No. Yeah.
started on true crime.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We'll do that later on. No, but yeah, so just going back to the trauma of it all, horrors and escapism.
Yeah.
I've faced a lot of true life horror. And I think that's the reason that I want to do this podcast, is to talk to people and tell people my story and my weird brain, because I have so many quirky ways to navigate life and things that I've survived. And then, I don't know about anyone else or you, but for me personally, sometimes I reflect on the last 35 years and I think, wow, like, I have a trauma that I almost think, whenever things are going good, that it's only so short-lived.
Yeah, like it can't last that long.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unhealthy. I probably should be in therapy, but I'm just going to talk to the viewers and the podcast people. Hi world.
So BetterHelp.
I want to talk to people like me so that we can keep each other in the loop.
Yes,
I don't want to talk to a professional to tell me, how are you feeling today? It's not my style.
I mean, all cards on the table. I'm very pro therapy.
Yes.
But it's also good to share your experiences, and if this is something that's going to help you lighten your burdens,
yes,
absolutely, get it out there.
So, I know that we're just kind of generalizing where we're at now, but I did want to touch a little bit on a horror movie that we watched together, and trauma specifically, because I know that we can bounce off about this, and that was the 2018 Halloween.
Yes.
And how they just completely wiped out all the other ones. And I remember you and your fiance and a couple other friends, we came over and we watched the original 1978 first. And you see this Laurie Strode and this happy 17-year-old goody two-shoe girl who just so happened to get stalked by this guy. And if you really think about it, was he really stalking her? Because she went over there.
I feel like, she just had to drop something off. Like, she just had to, this is how stalking in certain scenarios happens. It's pretty rare, but, he saw her dropping off some shit at his own house, and he was like, who the fuck? And then he was like, I'm gonna follow you. I'm going to find out things about you.
Yeah.
And he fucking stalked her,
Yeah, he definitely did, but also he became more fixated on Annie, I think, the friend and Linda, because he went to Annie's house, or the house that Annie was babysitting at. Laurie went over there to check on them, and that's when she, got sliced and fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
But
that's fair. Even so, he wasn't gonna let her go, and then following the original movie, he hyper fixated on this woman.
It's true, because he was staring at her through the window, at the school or whatever.
Yeah.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Michael Myers movies are, in my opinion, the most terrifying of all of the big.
They are. He's terrifying, but also, there's so many different parts of that, too, because there's, the first series, and then they erased it, and they did H2O after the first two, and then they erased it, and there's the Rob Zombies, and then they erased it all, and we're in the new trilogy that we're in now.
Yeah.
But, fast forwarding 40 years, I think they did an amazing job.
Oh, absolutely.
On Laurie's trauma.
Yeah.
People were, we read all these articles, this woman was traumatized at 17 in 1978, and they didn't do anything for her, and then society just threw her out. She literally was like a hermit in the woods.
Yeah, they were like, go let that whack-ass woman go live in the woods with her goddamn bunker.
And she got guns, she's just blowing mannequins up. First of all, where'd she get the mannequins all the time? She got a lot of mannequins.
That's a real question.
That's what we want to know.
Where do I get a mannequin?
David Gordon Green, where are all the mannequins coming from? We want to know. I'm just curious. She's just blowing mannequins up left and right. Do they sponsor her? Do they send them her, mannequins? I'm curious. But this isn't the topic anyway. It's just a random thought. The mannequin thing is weird.
Yes, but we love to see it.
Yes. The basement bunker.
I honestly am very into the basement bunker. I would like my own basement bunker.
Well, see, that's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't, like, I have trauma, but I mean, I'm not building, like, I don't even know how you go about doing that. Like, I'm just going to start digging a hole in my floor? Like, how do you do that?
I would assume that you would need, like, a basement.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Or you just create it. Like, there's holes in the floor all over the place. People have, like, underground tunnels. Like, it's just, things like that freak me out.
Okay, I definitely have, in my own home that I own, we have this laundry room, and there's AstroTurf in our laundry room for the carpeting, which is so ghetto, but we didn't put it in. We just haven't fixed it yet.
It doesn't matter.
And you can feel it when you're walking in there. Underneath the AstroTurf, there's a trap door.
Jesus, what's in there?
We don't know.
You've never opened it.
Mm-mm.
Bodies could be down there.
Yep.
Bones and...
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Or it could be millions of dollars. You don't even know. Somebody could have stashed it.
I am not ready to figure that out yet.
Okay, stay tuned because in a future episode we're going to tell you what's under Grace's hatch. I mean, that's it. We're going for it. Maybe we'll do a live video feed.
Yeah, yep.
But yeah, so we have this Laurie Strode. She's going to the prison when he's being transferred. Which, why are they transferring him again on Halloween night or the day before Halloween?
Like
I mean, I get for the movies, but like.
In reality, like, think with your goddamn brain.
That's when he's gonna be activated.
That's when the button goes on. The switch is flipped, and he's like, "Okay, I'm inhuman now. I turn into some like undead monster."
Then you got the podcasters in the movie who are investigative journalists, and they're literally tormenting this man with his mask, speak and screaming at him. Like, you can't really go to any institution and like attack a patient that way.
No.
But,
no.
Just and then get mad that he decides to break out and slaughter everyone again because you just triggered his 40-year-old memory. Like, he don't even know what's going on anymore. You know what I mean? Like, he was fine until they showed up, and now he's like, you know what? That's right. I remember that night.
Investigative journalist.
Like 40 years later, let's unleash him.
Tell us how we stop this from happening in the future.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, but I think they did well with the trauma. I think it's sad, though, that she lived 40 years that way. I
mean, when you look at anybody that is, quote-unquote, her age in, like, reality, there is such a stigma amongst the older generations against therapy. Yeah. I feel like if the original Halloween was happening now, she would have gone through full rounds of therapy. She would have learned how to deal with all of that. But and
plus those little kids they were saying would have put it on TikTok.
True.
While he's busting through the closet, just sitting in the corner with a...
Yep. Post before you die.
Yeah. Hashtag getting slaughtered.
But I feel like even herself, like, if somebody were to offer her therapy, her daughter was a therapist, and
that was the thing about it too. Her daughter was a therapist, but that was what I wanted to touch on too. Her daughter's a therapist, but also doesn't know how to be a therapist for her mom because of the trauma from that.
Yes.
Because it touched on the trauma, how it trickled down to Karen.
Yeah.
In the Christmas sweater. Because the Christmas sweater was not the choice. There's a lot of things you could do to avoid Halloween, but jumping to great-grandma's sweater? No, whatever. No. I think the producers were just like, anything that's super ugly and extreme and you're going to focus on it so this woman hates this day. But, she was like, when they were at the restaurant, she's screaming at her and...
Like, that's...
Not therapist action.
Yeah, I feel like I've never met another human being that's a therapist that would act that way outside of their therapy office. Like, I understand that you're frustrated, but you, especially as a therapist, should have the tools to deal with this. Exactly, because she's
posting this to her daughter, and she's like, I'm happy you saw that. Why are you happy that she witnessed that? You should not be happy. But I can relate to certain aspects, though, with, Laurie having been an alcoholic and she going in there and taking that drink. I think that's what triggered Karen. And just being over it all. And I get the repetitive things that you can't let go of because I can relate to my own mother who was a very bad alcoholic, especially in the end. before she passed, I didn't understand as a child why she didn't let go of things like when her mother or her father or her friend passed away. She never grieved. I didn't understand grieving. I didn't understand any of this, but as a child observing things, I was very frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I remember she would drink, she would cry, she would fight. And it was always in that order. Sorry about that.
Cut that out.
Yeah.
Brian, cut that out. Dayla?
I know, Jesus. But yeah, we needed something to break the tension. No, I didn't understand. But I think similar to like Lori, like you can't let go of things. I think my mom was very unhappy too. Obviously, she wasn't stalked and tried to be murdered, but the alcoholism and the trauma of life. My mom was very unhappy. She had a lot of trauma from my father, and like you said, older generations, like she would have been a baby boomer generation. That was different than when, like you said today. Yeah. My mom didn't believe in divorce. She didn't believe in going away, and
she didn't believe in therapy. She didn't,
those resources weren't available.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that trickles down to the children, and there's a lot to unpack with that.
All in due time.
Yeah. It's just fascinating, though, because we've had many conversations on our upbringing, and I think it's interesting how we just are we cope very differently.
We do.
But I feel like we're both still very optimistic.
Absolutely.
As you can be.
Yeah.
Because you can go one or two ways in these kinds of environments.
Yeah.
And I think that we are going in the right direction.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? What is the right direction?
I don't know at this point, but we're going to figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we have, like, a similar thing happening in our backgrounds. Like, I personally consider both of my parents alcoholics, but, the type of alcoholism is different between every person, in my opinion.
Because they say alcoholism is a self-diagnosed disease.
Yeah.
And so, like, we can see if people we think have a problem, but they have to admit it.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's different stages. There's functioning alcoholics.
Yep.
When I was a kid, I thought of alcoholism, I thought of bums on the street, and I don't mean to use that word, but that's as descriptive as I can say it.
Yeah.
Nothing against anyone. Everyone has issues that we need to help, everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
But that would be as extreme as I thought. Anything outside of that, you didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
I know differently now.
Yeah. For me, it's, my mom drinks at least a glass of wine every single day. And on the weekends, she's, like, sharing 2 bottles with her husband, which, like, is fine. Let loose. Do your thing. She's not driving. She's not hurting anybody. She's okay. But my dad he's a baby boomer. My mom is a Gen X. So they see things a little bit differently. They also had, like, their own upbringings, which is a whole different show. I could talk about that for years.
Yeah.
But my dad generally, now he's okay. He doesn't really let go of things. He doesn't know how to deal with things. So if you're going over there, he's gonna be drunk, and he'll either be sad because he misses his parents, my grandparents, who passed away just a couple of years ago, or he's going to be pissed off talking about my mom leaving him, or how he doesn't like this, that, and the other thing with what's going on with other members of my family. Or my favorite is when he's drunk and he's just recalling stories from his past, which
that's the thing. They are not in the present or the future. They're like legit just the past. And
they can't let go.
It's different. It depends on the day, but usually it's a cycle. Like you said, you're talking about this one that passed or that one, or like upset about that. Like my mom would argue with my dad.
Oh my God, yeah.
All the time.
We went on vacation last year, and there was like an attempted fist fight between my dad and my brother-in-law, and it was like a nightmare situation.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like...
And then this shame that children, I know I felt shame.
I had friends on vacation with us that had to see that. Like, they knew that I had a strained relationship with my parents in general, but for them to see it firsthand, where he's trying to physically abuse us, he's screaming, he's, you know, kicking up all this dark dirt from our pasts, and it's just like, it is shameful. And
yes. And we shouldn't feel ashamed, but
no.
I know, like, I remember being 14, I had a girlfriend, but I wouldn't talk to anyone on the phone after until 11 p.m. at night when I knew they were both sleeping because of the, like, they would just start screaming, screaming at the top of their lungs, fighting at any other time before that. And it was so embarrassing. Like, we lived in inner city. Like, we lived in Trenton, so we had a house connected to another one. There were, like, row homes. Everyone knew our business. They were my mom would throw. She was a thrower. She threw whole items. Like, I remember specifically a coat rack. It was ugly gold. It was like, ugly gold coat rack. Went flying into the middle of the road. Like, it's embarrassing. Like,
my in the back of your mind, you're like, you know what? Good. Fuck that coat rack.
Yeah, the fucking coat rack. It's disgusting. But, like, let's dispose of it properly.
Yes, let's just put it in the trash like normal humans. We don't have to throw it into traffic.
Yeah. And then dealing with that and I didn't want other people to know about it. But then also battling my own inner demons of being gay and not knowing I was gay and being very confused because of what, you know, I was born in 86. So growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a very specific, especially in that area, very specific identity of what it is to be a man and how it is to be a man. And in being in the inner city, this is the type of music you listen to. This is the type of clothes you wear. This is how you dress. This is your attitude. And anything other than that, you don't belong.
Yeah.
It's very toxic.
Very, very toxic.
So I had the outside world telling me all the things that I am supposed to be that I don't want to be. And then I have the inside world where I don't feel safe because of all the toxic family fights. I mean, like, we had holes in our walls from bodies getting thrown through them. Like, there was really no escape except I would watch horror movies and play, like, my favorite toy was a skeleton that was a Halloween decoration, and I named it Jamie, and I would carry it everywhere I went, and I would recreate with action figures, like, scenes from horror movies. That's what I would do. Like, my life has been about horror since I was a kid, but my mom was my idol. And watching her decline into her disease was very traumatic because I couldn't understand why this person who loved me so much was becoming such a monster.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you know, just trying to understand that now as a 35-year-old man, I think is going to benefit me healing because I don't think I fully healed with a lot of things because you grow up and you're like, you know what, you make excuses. We were just kids. Let's pack it away. Let's put it away. What's done is done.
Yeah, and it's hard to resolve the trauma when, like, your mom isn't here anymore, so it's not like you can sit down and unpack it with her and, you know, try and mend a relationship or, you know, fix old habits or whatever.
Exactly.
You can't do that anymore, so...
And that's rough because I was 17 when she passed away, and she passed away from cancer, and, you know, like I said, watching the alcoholism take her and then watching the cancer take her was rough.
Yeah. It was like you watched her die twice.
Yeah, and I came out to friends at 17, and then she, you know, not to her.
Yeah.
It was just a very hard time.
Yeah.
And I have two older sisters, and I have a younger half-sister, but the older sisters grew up with me in this environment, and it's weird how their perceptions and their memories and recollections are different with a lot of different things because we were all in different ages. My one sister's 6 years older than me, the other's 4 years older than me. So, and we all received traumas differently. I think that's interesting. You have siblings, right?
Yeah, I have a sister and a brother-in-law.
So, how does your sister and you compare to the upbringing and the... Do you have conversations? Because I'll have conversations with my one sister, and I'll bring up a memory, and she'll say, I don't remember this. That didn't happen. And I'm like,
oh.
It definitely happened to me. I mean, don't gaslight me. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we, there are certain things where so I have my entire family calls me the girl with the elephant memory. Like, I remember everything. I remember conversations from when I was a toddler. Things that I have no business remembering, they're locked in my brain somewhere. But when I experience things that I consider highly traumatic, I tend to repress them. So me and my sister and my brother-in-law, we just spent the whole holiday season talking about traumas in different ways, and it was excellent, honestly. But
I think it's helpful to just
talk about it. Just, get it
talk
out
about
there.
it to somebody that can relate, because
Yeah.
people that don't have that upbringing, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I get the looks, like my husband. I get these looks where I'm talking about an experience, or I have an experience that triggers, because that's what it is, and that's when you realize that these are things that you think you've gotten past,
Mm-hmm.
that you haven't gotten past.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just, they look like they're so cute, and they're so supportive. You know what I mean?
I'm
But-
cute for you, but
yeah,
like,
but like-
also their brows furrow in a way.
Yeah,
that
and like
it's
they're trying overly hard to not judge you, but like inside, they're judging you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like they can't, they are.
They can't help it.
It's not their fault, and I think we also kind of judge them. Like I look at these and I hear these stories,
Your
and I'm like,
nice ass life.
yeah, like, well, I'm stronger because I went through this. I mean, really, I'm not stronger.
No, it's everybody's different, and it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I didn't have a nice ass life, because through everything, I was spoiled as shit.
Exactly, and that's the confusing part is the good and bad times, and thinking like, my mom loved me. Like I said, my dad loved me.
Mm-hmm.
They had love for each other at some point, but like I said, I was a child, so I can't really unpack them, and neither one of them are here for me to have those conversations.
Yeah.
But I have very certain safe memories in my mind that I hold on to tight, and I keep that part of my life,
Mm-hmm.
Unpacking that with anxiety, the way I keep my home is how my mom kept her home.
Yeah.
Because I remember coming home from school, and there would be a safeness in like just certain, like, being clean and like, or decorating for holidays, or my mom cooking every day at the dinner table. So I hold on to the part of, we ate dinner every day at 5:30, and that was amazing because my mom cooked every day, and then I'll skip the 30 minutes of when we're in the middle of eating and someone starts fighting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut that part out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like,
We're gonna forget that happened.
yeah, we're gonna skip that part.
Yeah.
And just trying to just splice the good memories and get rid of the bad ones. But the problem with that is, there are things that I associate now. Like, I don't know about you, but like I said, growing up with the screaming and yelling, I'm uncomfortable
When
with
other people are yelling.
other people yelling.
Me too.
Like, it's bad.
Me too. Whenever anybody starts to get loud, which is saying a lot because I come from a huge Italian family.
Yeah.
Like, we are screaming at nothing in particular. Like, we're screaming when we're talking to someone that's
like,
right next to us.
Yeah, like you're loud, but it's a different kind of loud.
Yeah, when there is a tinge of aggression in your loudness, I completely dissociate.
Yes.
It's like a couple of years ago, my dad was going through it, and he would take us out to restaurants back when, like, living outside of your house was safe.
Yeah.
And
was it safe, or was it just a little safer?
Yeah. It was like 3 times in a row we went out, and he got in these screaming arguments with my stepmom.
Oh, God.
In public.
Oh, I have a memory about that, too.
And I just completely shut down. My poor fiance is sitting there like, I don't know what to do. I'm just looking at nothing and just not responding. And that's...
It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It is uncomfortable. As a child, I remember my dad, it's weird, like, my mom didn't come with us anywhere.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Like, she used to, but then she just stopped, and I didn't understand. But like I said, I remember my mom saying to my dad one time, and as a kid I didn't understand, but I understand it now. She said to him, "I'm not going to your family's house pretending that we're okay." She stopped going to things. She completely cut herself off.
Yeah.
But we were at a McDonald's, and you remember how McDonald's had like a greenhouse window? I don't know how else to call it.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? We were sitting there. My mom was in there with me and my 2 older sisters, and I don't know what happened. But he's aggressive. Like I said, he was aggressive too. He was the physically aggressive one.
Yeah.
something happened. My one sister got it bad from him.
Mm-hmm.
My other sister never got anything really from him.
Yeah.
And then me, I was kind of like, I would try to
shield your sisters.
Shield.
Yeah.
Like, come in because I would. But anyway, he started this whole fight in McDonald's, and I must have been, I'm telling you, 10 or younger. I couldn't have been barely 10.
Yeah.
Just being extremely embarrassed. And, like, that's sad to be that age and feeling embarrassed in public. Like,
in
usually, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, usually children don't have shame or embarrassment very often outside of your...
Yeah, at least, like, not until you're, like, a teenager. And you're like, why is hair growing here? Like, why am I stinky? Like...
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what, like... People...
It shouldn't be from, like, your parent traumatizing you in a public setting.
God, I know, and it's, like, it's just... It's hard to talk about sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like we said, other people... I think I also shield other people from my trauma.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like uncomfortable letting people in because at this point in my life, like, I kind of have my shit together.
Yes.
And I look like a successful human being, so it's like I just let people...
Society's terms of successful in some capacity.
Yeah, I just let people think what they want to think about me, and if it's somebody worth really having in my life, if I'm going to talk about my trauma, they're going to be understanding of it, because I don't let people in that close unless I know that they're safe for my safe place.
Exactly, and I think that comes from some other place as well, because you had to have let people
That's
in.
A trauma response
a trauma from a trauma. Yeah, it's just terrible. So I'm thinking about how now in our age, in our lives and how we've experienced all of this, what are your coping mechanisms that you would say? Like, everyone has different things.
My coping mechanisms have a tendency to kind of like jump from thing to thing. So for a while, it was drinking, just falling right into my own parents.
Yeah,
path.
I think that's a thing that we should stop and touch on for a second.
Yeah.
Is the fact of turning into what we thought was correct and comfortable.
Yep.
I don't think that we think much about that, but we see it and we do it, and it's very interesting because I followed the same kind of things. And what's interesting is that I don't think that everyone has. Well, no. Let me rephrase. I don't think everyone puts enough thought into recognizing repetitive behaviors that they're exhibiting that their parents did.
Yeah.
I've noticed many habits or things that I do that remind me of either my mother or my father, and I don't want that.
Yes.
But there are people that do, because they're like, well, this is how I was raised, so this is how I'm going to raise my kids, or how I'm going to live my life, because that's how our parents did. And I'm thinking, okay, you shouldn't do that. I was 13 years old starting to smoke cigarettes, and my mom was buying me packs of cigarettes. If I had a 13-year-old, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, this is like that's one of the examples, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's both of my parents. I definitely like. There's a point where, like, in your memory, you're just like, this is not okay. But then when you get to adulthood, it's like, I kind of understand why they were drinking so much.
Yeah, certain things.
You know, like, so there definitely was a specific time where I was drinking every day. And I go through these cycles where I'm like, alcohol's not good for me. I'm gonna stop it for a while, and then I'll just pick it back up socially as I want to when I feel comfortable to do that again. And that's where I am now. I don't really drink that much. I had a couple drinks on New Year's Eve, and as soon as I felt like I was acting stupid, I stopped.
Yeah.
But when it was really bad, I was drinking every day, and I was having fun, but it was just repeating learned behavior.
Yeah, and you had an
needed
alert. You had a response within you that recognized that in one of your parents or both.
Yeah.
Which is why it feels like it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that. I get it. I was a heavy drinker. I haven't drank in over 2 years now.
Yeah.
I gave it up. Smoking, I still vape, no nicotine. Don't know why I still vape. Just kind of holding on to some type of vice.
Yep.
I don't know. But no, I get it. The drinking thing was definitely a toxic relationship for me.
Yep. We're definitely at the point now where I don't feel like I need to drink after I've had a bad day. So that's really good.
I went to drinking because, like I said, my mom drank. It was just like
Yep.
everybody drank. Everybody drank.
drinks.
Everybody smoked, and that was how you socialize. That was how you blow off steam. That was how you do anything. It was, it was just an escape. And I started drinking at 14.
Yeah, I was drinking by the age of 14. I was smoking cigarettes and weed and popping pills.
That's what I mean.
around
Like
the
we're
same
just
time,
oh my god! The first time I ever got high. That's another story. Oh, god. But it is just, it's hard thinking about it because you have to put yourself back there.
Yep.
Because also I can't explain a lot of things. Like I dropped out of high school at 15, 14 years old.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I would skip school with friends, and guess where yours truly would want to go and spend the day so nobody would know where we were. The cemetery.
I'm not even surprised.
In the mausoleum.
Of course. Okay.
And ironically, directly across from where both of my parents are actually buried now.
Wow. Okay.
In that cemetery.
Okay.
Every day. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes we'd switch it up because my one sister found out and she would try and tell on us and they would try and scope us out. So I'd be like, let's switch it up and go to a different cemetery, or like, it was still a cemetery.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just always doing weird, horrific, like, that's my thing. You were here for Halloween. Like, you are not just Halloween. Like, let's just be honest. Like, I just love all things horror. I do horror mostly in my video games if it's not scary. Well, that's the thing. I don't know why the fear, I want to feel the fear when I grew up in constant fear.
Maybe it's like nostalgia
Is
for
it
you.
comforting?
Maybe it is in some twisted way sort of comforting for you. Because it's like...
Me like, thinking of like a Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, when Nancy she got a book on, booby traps and survival guide or something like that. And I think, because I don't just watch a horror movie and then I'm done for the entertainment. Like, I study it.
Yeah.
Like,
you definitely rabbit hole on your horror movies.
Yeah, like, I'm figuring out, like, because I don't think it's an if, I think it's like, when I'm in this situation, what can I learn?
Which, of course, is never going to happen. Like, Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers are not coming for you.
No, but other people in your life
are going to come for you in different ways.
That's the problem. It's like looking at these extreme situations, and when I'm faced with real life boogeymen, especially growing up, my parents were my heroes and my villains. And that is hard to do a dual role.
Yep.
And I didn't know who I was. Even to this day, starting this podcast, today at 35,
we're still figuring it out,
is something that I've wanted to do for years. I've been scared to put myself out there. Just kind of embracing what I like, navigating what I like, what I want to do, without allowing other people's judgments.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. I think that stems back to childhood too, being judged. I remember I liked something and I just remember being called gay, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, I had a specific life that I was supposed to live, and it's not happening. Now I'm very much different, but as a child, it's just very hard.
Yeah.
So I just fell into this scary world of, like, Halloween decorations were my toys. Like, I can't, like that, like, saying it out loud, it's like, You don't want to tell people that because they look at you like, what do you mean? Like, I had, like, toy bats. Like, my skeleton, I put in a casket and would, like, do funerals.
I am kind of obsessed with that.
Like,
it's adorable.
I would bury action figures in the backyard and then dig them back up. I didn't
Zombies.
do this, yeah, like...
Zombie heroes.
I never... And, like, people are like, oh, you're, like, psycho. And I'm like, no. I didn't have fantasies of murdering or hurting living things or anything like that. It was just recreating things I've seen on TV or have feelings towards.
Yeah.
And I think that talking about it is healthy because, like, I was always scared to talk about things. And I'm like, there's so many people that are probably like, I've done that, and nobody's talking about it. So, like, I'm going to talk about it. And like you said, we're at the point in our lives now where it's like, I don't care if you don't like me or you don't.
Oh, absolutely not. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, like, I mean, it took me 35 years to get here.
Yeah.
But, like, now I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to tell people my story. I feel like the world, I'm going to put my piece out there.
Yeah.
Why would I hold this in until the day I die and never share and maybe help someone or maybe make someone, because I felt very alone.
Yeah.
I don't.
Just, get help when you need it or find a safe person to talk to or, just.
Who was your. Okay, so you don't do, but you said you do like Japanese horror and you do Stephen King. First of all, I love Stephen King books.
Oh, yes.
I have the new one. I haven't read it yet.
Me neither.
But I will get there. I'm actually reading now. It's called The Final Girl Support Group, which is kind of interesting. For another episode, we'll pick that specifically when I finish it.
You're going to have to tell me about that later.
Yes. But, like I said, the Halloween franchise was my staple, I think, go-to even to this day. All things Michael Myers. That's my outlet, my main thing in horror that I would go to, and I know that I feel comfortable. What's your horror thing? If you can call it horror, or like, is it like witchcraft or crystals? Or...
I dabble in tarot a little bit. I feel like tarot gives me a lot of guidance when I need it. And like if I am doing anything like Wiccan, witchcraft, anything like that, I'm doing it fully lightheartedly.
Exactly. So you don't want to categorize that as a horror thing, but
yeah.
I'm only throwing that out there for the simple fact that so many people have misconceptions about it.
Yes. Yeah. It's not like I'm like
we're not
anybody or
exactly. We're not like plucking hairs off of people's necks on the way home.
I mean,
well, yeah. Shh. No.
Not on our way home. Just.
But in witchcraft and witches in the horror community, like in media, are very.
There's
different.
There's a lot of.
You've seen The Craft, right?
Oh, I love The Craft.
That's what I mean. I love The Craft.
I love The Craft.
What a great movie.
Yes.
But like the main chick was nuts. What was her name? I don't remember.
Yeah,
something.
Well, that's the actress.
Yeah, the actress's name. But
I don't remember her.
She scared the hell out of me.
I loved her.
She scared the hell out of me.
I was obsessed with her. Like,
her mouth was so big.
I wanted to be her. She was so cool, and she didn't give a fuck about anything. She was fearless. And
see, that's what I mean. Perceptions. Like,
if
you were all about her, and I was like scared of her.
Yes.
I was scared of her, not Freddy Krueger. Like, I don't know. It's weird. I was scared of weird things, like the Addams Family movie.
I love the Addams Family.
I'm obsessed with the Addams Family now too. But like, there's a specific scene in the Addams Family when Gomez is taking Fester, who isn't Fester, to the vault. Mm-hmm. And him being terrified on this slide, and Gomez laughing like a maniac.
Yeah.
And that scared me. He made me uncomfortable because that was, to me, it was like, this isn't warm and loving. That's not what a home is supposed to be like. That's not what a house is supposed to be like.
That makes sense. I don't know. I love the Addams.
I mean, I'll watch all the time.
I want that to be my family.
Like, Addams Family Values is classic. Debbie. Malibu Barbie. Like, she couldn't tell me nothing about Debbie. The laugh, I practice that laugh when she's like doing the cry in the car. You know what I'm talking about? Like, how does it go? She's like, like something like that. Like, don't judge my trying. Don't judge it. But yeah, anyway, I was freaked out by things like that because it was an uncomfortable fear.
Yeah.
Compared to like an adrenaline Halloween fear.
I am fully the opposite. I don't like the adrenaline. I don't like to be immersed in like a horror video game.
Oh.
I can watch other people play a horror video game, but I cannot play it myself.
What is your favorite horror video game that you've watched? Do you know? Do you have one?
I mean, Alan Wake.
Okay. Is it good? Because I almost bought it.
I tried to play it myself. It's very good, but it's so fucking freaky.
Okay. I almost bought it the other day. It's so funny because I was looking through games.
You should buy it. You should buy it. It's very, very good. It's very, very good.
My favorite franchise is Resident Evil. Like, hands down. I think it's because when I first got a PlayStation, I actually played Resident Evil 2 first. And like I said, that's a topic for another show. But Resident Evil, Silent Hill. Right now I'm playing Dead by Daylight. And that, you talking about adrenaline fear?
Oh,
Listen.
Video games? Fear video games, and you throw in zombies, and I'm double out. I can't do zombies.
Well, you like Japanese horror, right?
I do.
Have you played Fatal Frame?
No.
Have you heard of Fatal Frame?
Yes.
Okay. That is scary as hell.
Yes.
The original Fatal Frame. So, I didn't even beat it. My sister played it. And I remember watching...
Which sister?
Heather.
Oh my god!
Hey, Heather!
Hey!
She's into the horror things with me too. Like me and her, like I said, that's another episode. I'll have to bring her in so we can just talk about when we did stupid things like dark magic stuff in the basement. Yeah. That's another show. But and it's still following me today. She played Fatal Frame. The ghost paranormal fucks me up. Dead people, ghosts, and demons. I won't sleep, but I'll watch this shit by myself.
Yeah.
And then I can't sleep because I'm like, grandma's staring at me in the corner. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. I torture myself.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the Fatal Frame, there's a Maiden of Black Water that's available on the Switch now.
Ooh.
You can or the PS5. I've seen it at the store, and I'm kind of, like, so interested to buy it because I'm, like, even now, like, looking back, I was, like, when I was a child or a teenager, I was too scared and I couldn't get into it. But, like, I'm going to force myself to face my fears. And I think it's a part of, like I said, my traumas. Yeah. Because if I can
you have to do it. Like you personally just feel like
I
you
feel
need to do it.
Personal accomplishments.
Yeah.
Like there's a game I have for the Switch. I don't think I'm ever gonna get through it. It's called Remothered. Have you heard of it?
I haven't heard of it.
So it's Clock Tower kind of gameplay, I think. I don't know if you know what Clock Tower is. I used to play this as a child. So you don't really get weapons. It's kind of like you walk around, you have to solve puzzles and try to escape, and there's a killer that you have to hide from. If they see you, they chase you. Yeah. And it fucking my head tingles. It's so scary. Yeah. This one, the girl, the person in this, first of all, she looks like Jodie Foster, and I think that's kind of the thing that bothers me. I don't know why. Yeah. The guy is just creepy. And I'm not very far in it, and I don't know if I can ever do it.
I was just watching...
She walks too damn slow.
I was watching this Twitch stream recently with a friend of mine.
I'm on Twitch. Foxy Batman 21 2X's.
I'm not on Twitch. Maybe I should be.
Get on Twitch.
But it was a game, I forget what it was called, but there was like a bunch of different killers that were after you. And there was like the bad boss kidnapped this lady and sent you, like, you have to solve this puzzle or crack this code.
That's Mario. That's not. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like a sick, twisted version of it.
Yeah.
So it's like every 5 minutes, you have to sneak onto the dark web and look for these codes on the dark web, but you have to keep changing your Wi-Fi because.
Okay, this sounds terrifying.
It's horrifying. So
anything that can happen.
You have to keep changing your Wi-Fi because if you stay on the same Wi-Fi for too long, the police will show up and kill you.
Why are the police killing you?
Because you're on the dark web. So that's the first.
Well, you know, never mind. Let's just keep on going.
That's the first way you can die. The second way you can die is if you order like motion sensors and stuff. You can like order tech to help you get through this, but you have to go, you live in an apartment and you live on the 8th floor and you have to walk down all the stairs because the elevator doesn't work, walk outside into the alley, and when you walk into the alley you have to stop and listen, and if you hear heavy breathing you need to
No.
run
Oh my
and
God.
get into the storage closet in the alley, and there will be a guy that ever so gently tries to like push the door open.
Oh no.
And you have a stamina bar, so you when you see the door push open a little bit, you have to close it.
This is terrifying.
But you can't just hold it closed because you have a stamina bar. So and you have to wait, and you don't know when he leaves. You can't hear him leave.
Seriously, who the fuck made this?
I don't know, but they're a genius.
They're a genius, but they've also gotten some type of trauma, and I don't know. There's a little accident in there, and I'm not sure what that was. There are multiple personalities in there.
And then the other killer is the minions for the guy that kidnapped the girl.
Okay.
And so in your apartment you have a window, and also sometimes they'll appear in the hallways.
No, what the hell? Who are they?
So if you're like sitting at your desk,
what do they look like?
They have masks on, and they're very creepy. They
Oh,
have like
God.
all white and black masks.
We have
on.
to. Anyone out there, please tell us the name of this game.
I will find it. I will
yes.
find it so that you can watch the Twitch stream because he did.
I'm gonna Twitch stream so you can watch me.
Oh yeah.
Be absolutely fucking terrified and scream.
So when you're sitting at
don't just listen to my trauma, experience it.
So when you're sitting at your computer, every couple of seconds you have to get up and look at the window, and if you see a face in the window,
Fuck that.
You have to sit back down and turn around for 10 seconds.
My God.
They just want you to acknowledge them, but you can't keep looking at them. And sometimes the power will just go out, and you have to get away from your desk and go down the hall to the breaker room and turn the breakers on. And when you come back in, they'll be standing in the hallway. So you just turn around.
This is too much.
The final killer. When you go into your room, you have to make sure you lock the door, because the final killer will break into your lock. So you have to listen for it. And when they're coming, you have to turn out all the lights in your apartment and hide in the cupboard.
Oh God, no.
And wait for them to leave.
That's too much for me.
It's the best. It was so fun to watch. I'm sorry I just went off.
No, that's perfect.
Like 20 minutes.
That's the perfect way to end our first episode, because now we're going to examine and figure out where it is. And if you guys enjoyed this, follow me on Twitch at FoxyBatman21 with 2 X's. And you can go over to our website at thehorrorwithinme.com, where I also have a blog going on there, where I write about whatever the hell I want to write about, and I'm sure there's some type of horror material that's going to be in it, because if you've listened to the last almost hour, that's all we can talk about.
Yeah.
Other than that, until next time, stay spooky.